Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cyclical Investors Club YouTube channel. My name's Corey Kramer, and today I'm going to be talking about the hot topic of the day, DeepSeek, and what it did to the stock market yesterday. I'm recording this on the Tuesday, January 28th, after the market closed, so we had a partial recovery today. I wanted to wait a day and just kind of let everything process a little bit for folks. Rather than jumping in the middle. I have a strong inclination to always do nothing when something exciting is happening in the market and just kind of chill out. And I try to be prepared for things ahead of time. And usually by the time something like this happens, I feel like if I wasn't prepared for it, then if not at the individual stock level, at the portfolio level, then I wasn't really doing my job. Like I already failed, so I'm not going to rush and try to not fail, although at least not right away. I don't really like to have market media influence my initial investing decisions. It still does. I mean, for somebody, I have to sit and watch. I guess I don't have to, but I mean, I watch Bloomberg like half the day just to see what's going on and keep in touch kind of with what's happening. And I'm kind of strong-willed and stubborn, but it still will influence, how you're feeling about things. So for me, like the Cyclical Investors Club kind of portfolio was, I think, slightly up for the day. It oscillated a little bit between flat to slightly up when the market was down about 2 or 3% or something like that, which I was really happy with because I've been trying to de-risk or not take on the same risks that we saw kind of exposed yesterday. And so it was good that what I'd been doing is actually worked. And I'm long only, so I don't have any short positions or anything like that. But I made a video a while back about why I didn't really think it made much sense for the AI boom to include all of the Mag 7 and maybe like the top dozen stocks when basically you were taking money from some of them, like Meta, Apple, Amazon, and Alphabet, and basically taking their money and giving it to Nvidia. And somehow that made all the stocks increase by trillions of dollars of value. When really they just transferred money from one company to Nvidia. So for Nvidia, it might have made a little bit of sense. I've made a video on it before where I shared my thoughts. But the whole thing put together didn't really make a lot of sense because ultimately it's the companies outside of the top dozen or so that are involved in the business that need to become more productive due to the technology. And I thought all the investments into the infrastructure, utilities and stuff, trading at crazy valuations, I mean, to me, none of that ever made any sense. Like, it still doesn't make any sense to me. To make that kind of a long-term investment this early on in the process, right? So the key takeaway for folks, I'm sure plenty of people have gotten into the weeds on this already, but the key takeaway is whether you believe the claims, the energy use and GPU use and expense claims, I think the default position of everyone should be that the power consumption for running the type of artificial intelligence things that we're going to want to run is going to decrease over time. And we are going to find ways to decrease it. So making a 20-year bet on a utility or something like that, or when there's one GPU maker that has most of the business, to make a long-term bet that that's going to last a very long time is a very risky bet to make, especially when you're buying it when it's up, let's just see. So, I mean, the stock, Nvidia, I just pulled up since they were the focal point of everything. So the stock is still up 1,000% basically since less than 3 years ago. And that's after the sell-off and partial recovery. So if things just went back to where they were 2 years ago, the stock falls 90% from here, okay? And it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. It could happen 3 years from now, right? So people just need to be careful about that when they're making their investments, and especially at the portfolio level. So when you look at your portfolio and look at what it did yesterday and think about how that would feel if it happened every day for like a month or 3 days a week for like a month, right? Because you'll get these recoveries. Usually things don't just fall in a straight line. The dot-com bubble took 3 years to deflate, okay? But it was the worst market period since the Great Depression. So when you run it all the way through the Great Recession in 2009, right? That 10-year period was literally the second worst in 100 years or something like that. So it didn't happen all at once like the crash in 2020. And investors need to keep that in mind. So look at what your portfolio did. Think about how if it made you uncomfortable on Monday, because I'm going to show you a report that kind of spurred me to go ahead and make this video. Not so much how you felt on Monday, because people will have strong reactions. I've seen some pretty strong reactions to it that were a little more knee-jerk, I think, and wishful thinking sometimes, or catastrophizing on the other hand. I saw both of those reactions, which I don't think either one of them are probably the best for an investor to have. But I would look at your portfolio and say, look, if it was down 5% or something on Monday, that's pretty risky. Like, I mean, or more. And I know a lot of people's were, because I've seen so many people posting about basically they own the stocks that have done really well the past 2 or 3 years with the AI boom. And a lot of people own them by default because the indexes are just really heavily weighted to them. So for me, if you don't want to lose a lot of money really quickly, it's possible these stocks go higher, but the odds are dramatically in favor of stagnation to choppiness to going down. And you just want to make sure you're balanced. I have about 40% cash right now. I keep buying stocks slowly but surely. I try to find things to buy. So I'm not it's not a macro call necessarily. But there's a lot of things that are, usually the higher quality businesses are overvalued. So I'm really having to slowly pick my way through small caps and try to find things. And I mean, I would buy Nvidia at the right price, but we just, we aren't there. So if you build some cash, if you don't need to have like a super strong weighting, a person doesn't need to, here's what I would have done if I owned Nvidia. So I bought AMD on this dip in 2022 and I barely missed Nvidia. This was right before the AI stuff. Nobody knew it. Nobody, even the people at Nvidia didn't know it was going to happen. But if I had bought it after it doubled or so, I would have sold about half and then just held the half for long term. And if you think you have a business that's going to be really solid like Nvidia, it maybe will be long term, and you've made 500%, I'm not telling you what to do, but if it was me, I would take my profits and then the rest of it, I would just commit to just not touching it for however many years, 10 years, and not try to buy it on the way down with your money that you took out after it falls 20%, because 20% is nothing. It could fall 50% 4 more times, basically, and still maybe not be at the bottom if we have a bad downturn or just the whole thing shifts. And it doesn't have to happen this year. It could happen in 2 years. So just be careful. Be careful out there. I think the right amount of cash, it all depends on what an investor's, trying to do. For me, 30 to 50% in a account where you're buying individual stocks seems appropriate right now. And it depends on the composition of, what you own and then what you're looking for. If you have a bunch of risky stuff like chip stocks, I mean, more cash is better than less. If you have some, I mean, so much stuff is overvalued, but I mean, if you have a bunch of healthcare stocks that are already beaten down or something right now, more or you don't need to have as much cash probably, right? If you have certain things like that. And then have a plan on what to try to find and buy at certain prices ahead of time. But just be aware what these stocks can do. I would maybe look at the Magnificent Seven and however many extra you want to toss in there and just say, okay, I'm not going to buy any of these. Maybe I'll keep some if I already own them. I'm going to go out and try to find something that's, different that not everybody else is paying attention to. I'm starting to find, I'm writing articles on a couple of companies lately that are mid caps, and people aren't even reading them. I write an article on AMD, and it gets 20 times more reads than, which isn't even a buy right now. And then I can write buy articles, and they get 20 times fewer readers because people just aren't interested. I mean, they are really focused on the AI stuff. It's just sucking all the air out of the room, which can be great if you're paying attention to everything else that's going on. Because now it's getting to the point where so much attention is being paid that I am starting to see a few things just slowly slide like through the cracks that are solid businesses, that are at least good bets, at least, that if people were paying attention would not be trading, I don't think, at the level that they're at. So that's about what I have to say. And then if you own S&P 5 like SPY or VOO or QQQ or something like that, consider the equal weight. RSP is the equal weight S&P 500 ETF. That's what I would use if I wanted that exposure, and that's what I would do if I wanted that exposure in my portfolio from just at the index level, but I didn't want the concentration of the kind of big Magnificent Seven or whatever. And RSP's been doing pretty well lately. I don't have a chart of it ready to go, but it held up really well during the downturn, and I think it'll be steadier than where everybody's at right now in the market. All right. If you found this useful, let me know. Put a comment in the comments. I'll answer it. This wasn't like a full-fledged breakdown of DeepSeek, but I just wanted to share some of my thoughts. Oh, wait. In the news article, I take that back. So here's the thing that kind of set me off a little bit. Not set me off, but just made me want to make this video. So Nvidia price plunge spurred astounding amount of share purchases by retail investors. So in this little snippet's talking about people buying 2 times leverage at Nvidia. And these are retail investors, which is my audience. But most retail investors don't. This is a mistake that they often make. Buying too soon, buying way too soon, and then getting hurt basically. And then you get these bounces like today, and then immediately going down the next step, and then think, oh, this is it, and then piling in, and then before you know it, you're in and you're losing, and Nvidia falls 50% or something like that. When the pros are flooding out and retail is flooding in, almost never works out good for retail. So that's what made me want to make the video, and just, think twice, I guess. That's what I would say. All right, I'm really leaving now. I'll see you later. Bye.